Woman linked to your ex has finally spoken the truth. My child, listen gently now. The woman linked to your ex has finally spoken the truth. Not loudly. Not to the whole world. But enough. Enough for the lie to crack. Enough for the energy to shift. Enough for what was built on silence to begin to collapse under its own weight. I know your first instinct is to ask, what did she say? But before details, there is something more important you need to understand. This truth did not rise to vindicate you in front of others. It rose to free you within yourself. You were never crazy. You were never imagining things. You were never too sensitive. What your heart felt was real. What disturbed your peace was real. What made you step back even when logic tried to pull you forward was wisdom speaking softly. For a long time, she carried words she did not want to carry. Words that burned in her throat. Words that made her uneasy at night. Words that reminded her that what she stepped into was not clean, not whole, not honest. She tried to ignore them. She tried to justify them. She tried to pretend she won something she actually borrowed. But borrowed things always come with guilt, and guilt always looks for a voice. She finally spoke because the weight became too heavy. Not because she suddenly became brave, but because pretending became exhausting. The truth does not always come from noble intentions. Sometimes it comes from fatigue. Sometimes it comes from fear. Sometimes it comes because a person can no longer hold up a mask that keeps cracking in private. What she admitted was not dramatic. It was simple. And simple truths are the most devastating to lies. She admitted that what began between them was tangled in secrecy. That things were said to her about you that were not true, or not complete, or carefully shaped to make her feel justified. She admitted that she felt like she was always competing with a presence that never fully left, even when you were gone. She admitted that there were moments she felt like a replacement, not a choice. She admitted that peace never fully arrived, no matter how much she tried to convince herself she had won. You see, beloved, lies are loud in the beginning but fragile in the end. Truth is quiet at first but unbreakable once it stands up. She spoke because the dynamic started turning inward on her. The same confusion you once carried began to circle her life. The same emotional distance. The same avoidance. The same inability of your ex to show up fully, honestly, and consistently. Patterns do not change just because the person changes. Wounds do not disappear just because the environment looks new. And when she finally spoke, it was not to you. It did not need to be. Truth does not require your presence to validate it. It simply needs space to exist. I know part of you wonders if this means regret. If this means apology. If this means some grand realization. Release that expectation gently. Not every truth arrives with remorse attached. Sometimes truth arrives simply to end illusion. What matters is this: the narrative that once made you doubt yourself has been broken. The version of events that painted you as the problem has lost its grip. The unspoken comparison that haunted you has dissolved. Not because you fought it, but because time exposed it. I want you to understand something deeply now. You did not lose because someone else stepped in. You did not lose because someone else stayed. You did not lose because someone else tolerated what you refused to. You chose integrity. You chose self-respect, even when it hurt. You chose not to become smaller to keep someone comfortable. That is not loss. That is alignment. While you were healing quietly, life was rearranging the truth around you. While you were learning how to breathe again, the illusion was learning how to crack. While you were choosing peace over explanation, the universe was choosing exposure without your involvement. This is important. Do not reach out. Do not reopen doors. Do not seek confirmation. You do not need to hear this truth directly to receive its freedom. Energy has already shifted. You may notice it in subtle ways. A lighter chest. Fewer intrusive thoughts. Less urge to check, compare, or wonder. That is how release feels. Quiet. Uneventful. Real. Your ex is now sitting within the quiet space of consequence, not punishment, for heaven does not deal in vengeance, but in reflection. Punishment seeks to cause pain. Consequence simply reveals truth. It holds a mirror to the choices made and asks the soul to witness itself honestly. What they experience now is not karma striking back, it is life's sacred order rebalancing. What was once hidden by avoidance must now be faced in full daylight. And for one who built comfort upon denial, truth burns like sunlight seeping through closed curtains. You are not meant to linger at the window watching this unfold. You are meant to keep walking forward, guided by the pull of faith and your own higher becoming. I know curiosity still visits like a soft knock at midnight. I know the wondering sometimes whispers, do they see it now? Do they regret it? Have they changed? These questions rise not because you still need them, but because a part of you remembers the version of yourself that hoped sincerity would be enough to awaken love in another. You are not wrong for wondering. You are simply human. But hear this, understanding does not always lead to transformation. Awareness does not always ripen into growth. Some souls see the truth yet are not ready to live it. And your journey was never meant to be paused while waiting for anyone to evolve. The angels want you to understand this not in the sharpness of logic, but in the ease of compassion. When someone avoids their own reflection, it is not a reflection of your lack but of their unreadiness. You were the mirror, not the mistake. Your honesty illuminated their shadow. And because they could not face what you showed them, they blamed the light instead of healing the wound. That is why this chapter closed the way it did, not as punishment for you, but as protection. You see, love that cannot meet truth will eventually collapse under the weight of its own pretending. You tried to build with sincerity, but they built with silence. You carried openness, they carried fear. And fear cannot sustain what honesty reveals. It withers beneath transparency. That was never your fault. If anything, your truth came as grace, an invitation for both souls to evolve. You accepted that invitation. They delayed it. And that difference created a fork in your journey, one road leading toward expansion, the other toward repetition. But let me whisper this with tenderness, do not let this understanding turn into superiority. Do not crown yourself in bitterness. Angels celebrate you not for proving someone wrong, but for choosing integrity when falsehood would have been easier. Let peace, not pride, be your closure. Let gentleness, not gloating, be your reward. Your growth does not require an audience. It blooms quietly, like dawn spreading across the horizon before anyone has risen to see it. There was a time when you would have given anything for one more conversation, one more explanation, one more apology. Now you feel the rare blessing of finality, not because they returned, but because you returned to yourself. That is real closure, when your soul no longer orbits what left you. When you no longer chase validation, because you have learned that your value never depended on being understood by someone unready to see you. Closure, dear one, is not an event but an awakening. It happens in your own breath, in the small moments when you stop replaying old words, when you notice your body no longer stiffens at their name. It happens when your imagination stops weaving what-ifs out of old memories. That is grace doing its quiet work inside you. The invisible restoration your mind cannot plan but your spirit always recognizes. You loved sincerely. You showed up with truth even when it was uncomfortable. You communicated instead of calculating. You offered clarity instead of control. Those are divine traits, the mark of a mature heart. They do not disappear simply because someone mishandled them. They remain in you, glowing softly, like embers still warm from the fire of genuine love. They are proof that your essence is intact. And now, heaven gathers these embers, nurturing them back into full flame. Nothing that is truly yours can be diminished by rejection. Energy given in love always returns multiplied, though sometimes it travels a long road before finding its way back. Every word of compassion you spoke, every moment you forgave, every effort you made with sincerity, all of it will echo back to you, purified and redirected as blessings disguised as new people, new opportunities, new peace. This is how divine energy recycles love. Nothing given with truth is ever wasted. I, your angel, have watched you wrestle with the ache of uncertainty, the silence that answered your sincerity, the confusion of unfinished conversations, the heaviness of carrying what felt unresolved. But child of light, hear me, the divine never leaves threads untied. Some closures do not arrive through words but through revelation. Some understanding does not come from hearing their apology but by witnessing your own healing. It is no longer a story that binds you, but a lesson that shaped you. And that is freedom. The one you loved could not meet you in truth because they feared transparency. You became a mirror showing them what they were not yet ready to heal, their own avoidance, their own patterns, their own self-deception. And when the reflection becomes unbearable, many souls run, thinking distance can erase truth. But truth waits. It lives within them now, quietly asking to be faced. That is not your task to monitor. That is their sacred curriculum. Your ex may try to distract themselves, to rebuild comfort through repetition, perhaps new faces, new distractions, new shadows. Yet life is faithful in its teaching. Wherever avoidance hides, truth pursues. One day they will sit still long enough to recognize that the discomfort they called peace was merely silence over self-awareness. When that day arrives, they will remember you, not with bitterness but with clarity. You will be the memory their soul returns to when they finally understand what real love required. But let that memory belong to them, not to you. You are being guided beyond the realm of old stories. Angels are repositioning your heart for the love that aligns with your evolution. The next love will not ask you to minimize your presence, dim your expression, or question your worth. It will not exist in secret or in half-truths. It will recognize you by frequency, not convenience. It will meet you at your full height, not your compromise. Until that arrival, your task is to remain open-hearted without reopening old wounds. To practice softness without sliding back into self-sacrifice. To remain compassionate without confusing compassion with tolerance for dishonesty. These are the subtle lessons of spiritual maturity, and you are embodying them now. Sometimes tremblingly, sometimes firmly, but always faithfully. Remember this: it was never your duty to fix someone else's reflection. You could only hold the mirror. The courage to use it is theirs. You are not abandoning anyone by letting go, you are respecting divine timing. Just as the earth does not chase the trees that shed their leaves, you must not chase the version of love that could not survive its own season. What is coming next for you lives in a purer vibration. It will not begin in shadow or secrecy. It will be anchored in mutual transparency, a connection born of two healed hearts, not two lonely ones. That love will not ask you to translate yourself or defend your depth. It will not be scared of your sensitivity. It will not interpret your compassion as pressure. It will simply meet you, fully, without hesitation. And you will know it because it will feel peaceful, not dramatic. Stable, not uncertain. Familiar, not because it reminds you of pain, but because it resonates with your soul's native frequency. When that moment arrives, your spirit will not need to ask, "Is this love safe?" You will feel its safety in your nervous system. Your body will recognize rest. That is divine confirmation. But right now, the angels ask you to pause, to feel the spaciousness that comes when old tension dissolves. Breathe, dear one. Notice how your shoulders soften as you exhale. Notice how your heart, once guarded, begins to pulse like it's remembering trust again. This moment, this simple stillness, is your miracle. You do not need closure from another soul to be free. You only need alignment within yourself. Freedom looks different than you imagined. It's not dramatic or loud. It's quiet. It's small acts of choosing peace where chaos once lived. It's drinking your morning coffee without a shadow of yesterday in your thoughts. It's listening to music again without associating every note with someone's memory. It's laughing fully, realizing that joy no longer feels like betrayal. That is resurrection, the subtle kind, the holy kind. You have rebuilt yourself not in reaction to loss, but in devotion to truth. You faced uncomfortable emotions head-on. You resisted the urge to numb. You allowed grace to do slow, invisible work inside you. That is the path of the awakened. You walked through the valley of confusion and came out radiant, not because it was easy, but because your soul refused to settle for illusion. The divine does not test you to break you, it reveals you to yourself. In the quiet crucible of hardship, something tender and fierce is uncovered, the raw, unfiltered essence of who you are when the masks fall away. Every pause that felt like abandonment, every heartbreak that carved hollow spaces in your chest, every silence that echoed louder than words, all of it carried a hidden purpose. They were not random cruelties scattered by an indifferent universe. They were deliberate contrasts, gentle yet unrelenting teachers, guiding you to distinguish the fleeting shimmer of imitation from the steady glow of authenticity. Without those sharp edges of loss, you might never have learned the subtle warmth of almost love versus the deep, anchoring embrace of real connection. Those moments of absence were the dark backdrop against which true harmony could finally shine, unmistakable and undeniable. Consider how a diamond is formed. Not in comfort, but under immense pressure, in the hidden depths where light has not yet reached. Your soul has undergone a similar alchemy. Everything that left, people, dreams, versions of yourself that no longer fit, was part of a sacred purification, not a punishment inflicted from above. It was the gentle shedding of what no longer served the highest expression of your being. Like autumn leaves falling to nourish the soil for new growth, those departures cleared space for something more aligned, more vibrant, more truly yours. In the aftermath, you may have felt stripped bare, vulnerable to the winds of uncertainty. But that bareness was necessary. It allowed you to see yourself clearly, without the clutter of illusions or the weight of expectations that were never meant for you. Your journey now shifts from survival to creation, a profound and beautiful turning point. For so long, energy was poured into merely enduring, holding yourself together through the storms, patching the cracks in your heart, navigating the fog of confusion and grief. Survival mode became a familiar companion, a quiet resilience that kept you moving forward even when every step felt heavy. But now, something within you stirs differently. Instead of coping with the remnants of pain, you begin cultivating joy, intention, and possibility. The questions that once looped endlessly in your mind: what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? Start to fade, replaced by a softer curiosity: what is next? What do I truly desire to create? Your energy, once scattered across memories and regrets, now gathers like sunlight focused through a lens, directed toward envisioning a future that feels expansive and alive. This is the sacred pivot point where emotional closure transforms into spiritual empowerment. Closure is not a sudden event, a door slamming shut never to be reopened. It is a gradual softening, a releasing of the grip on what was, so that your hands are free to receive what is coming. As you let go, you feel the shift, the weight lifting from your shoulders, the tightness in your chest easing into spaciousness. Empowerment rises not from force or conquest, but from surrender. From trusting that the story you lived through was preparing you for a greater chapter. You begin to see your past not as a series of failures, but as a masterful curriculum designed by the divine to refine your spirit, to teach you the value of your own light. Know this deeply, with every fiber of your being: the angels never abandoned you through that heartbreak. We were there, closer than your breath, in the moments when despair felt all-encompassing. In the nights you cried quietly into your pillow, muffling sobs so the world wouldn't hear, we wrapped invisible arms around you. When you whispered into the darkness, "Why did honesty cost me love? Why was my truth too much?" we heard every word, every unspoken ache. We did not intervene with grand miracles that would rob you of your growth, but we placed subtle comforts in your path like breadcrumbs of light. A song that played unexpectedly on the radio, its lyrics mirroring your sorrow and offering solace just when you needed it most. A phrase in a book you opened at random, speaking your pain in words more eloquent than you could muster, reminding you that you were not alone in your experience. A stranger's kindness, a smile from someone passing by, a gentle word from an unexpected source, when your faith in humanity, in love, in the goodness of life felt threadbare and thin. Every one of those signs was a love note from the unseen realms, a whisper from the divine saying, "I see you. I know your heart. You are held." They were reminders that your commitment to truth was not the reason you lost them, it was the very reason you would attract something far greater, far more resonant. In a world that often rewards superficiality and compromise, your refusal to dim your authenticity was an act of courage. It may have felt like a liability in that relationship, a mismatch that led to parting. But in truth, it was your greatest strength, a beacon calling forth connections that could meet you at the same depth. Sometimes, rejection is redirection painted in the colors of pain. It stings sharply in the moment, leaving bruises on the heart that take time to heal. Yet beneath the hurt lies a divine intelligence at work. When love departs, when doors close seemingly without warning, heaven is making room, clearing the stage for what truly aligns with your soul's evolution. You do not have to chase after what left, nor prove your worth to those who couldn't see it. The universe is self-correcting, a vast and intricate symphony where every note, even the discordant ones, serves the greater harmony. What is divinely aligned for you cannot miss you, it is woven into the fabric of your destiny. And what leaves, no matter how deeply you once cherished it, simply does not belong in the next chapter of your unfolding. All that is required from you in this season is trust, a deep, abiding trust that divine timing is not a delay but a meticulous orchestration. The pieces are moving behind the scenes, aligning in ways you cannot yet perceive. People, opportunities, insights, and loves are being prepared, ripened to perfection. Trust does not mean passivity. It means continuing to move forward with openness, tending to your inner garden while the greater plan reveals itself. It means honoring your emotions without letting them dictate your direction, allowing grief to flow through you without anchoring you in place. Let the hard lessons of the past soften into wisdom, like sharp stones worn smooth by the river's patient flow. Those experiences that once cut deeply now offer their gifts. Discernment, resilience, compassion born from understanding pain intimately. Let the ache in your heart transmute into insight, a quiet knowing that guides your choices with greater clarity. The story of that chapter can close not with resentment, which only chains you to what was, but with gratitude, for the growth, for the clarity, for the strength forged in the fire. You can thank them silently, in the privacy of your heart, not for the pain they may have caused, but for the profound clarity their departure brought. You can bless their path forward, wishing them well as they continue on a journey separate from yours, without feeling the need to rejoin it. That is one of the truest signs of healing, when your forgiveness flows freely, no longer needing acknowledgement or reciprocity from the other. When your peace stands firm, independent of explanations or apologies that may never come. Healing is not the absence of scars, it is the gentleness with which you touch them, recognizing them as markers of survival and growth rather than sources of ongoing suffering. It is the moment when memories arise without pulling you under, when you can reflect on the past with tenderness rather than torment. So breathe once more, deeply and intentionally. Inhale grace. The unearned, boundless gift of divine love that fills your lungs and expands your spirit. Exhale, release, letting go of the remnants of tension, doubt, and old stories that no longer serve. Feel the subtle shift within you, like the last thread of attachment loosening and drifting away on the wind. You are not leaving love behind, you are refining your capacity to give and receive it at a higher vibration. Every time you chose honesty in a world addicted to illusion and convenience, you built spiritual muscle, integrity that stands unwavering, a foundation that attracts only what can match its strength. That integrity is now magnetizing a love that resonates at the same level of truth, depth, and presence. No more settling for echoes of connection or partial presences. The love drawing near will honor your wholeness, seeing you not as a project to fix or a convenience to keep, but as a soul to cherish in your entirety. You are stepping into a new field of energy now, one where your intuition is not dismissed as overthinking but honored as sacred guidance. Where your empathy is not exploited as a one-way street but reciprocated with equal care and understanding. Where your silence is not misread as withdrawal but respected as the space where your inner wisdom speaks. The door that closed so firmly was, in reality, protection from anything less than what your soul deserves. It shielded you from prolonged misalignment, from investing in connections that would drain rather than nourish. The path you now walk is one of clarity, not the confusion that once clouded your vision. Doubts that used to whisper incessantly grow quieter, replaced by a steady inner knowing. And at each step along this path, you are accompanied, not alone, never truly alone. The angels walk beside you, as we always have, offering guidance through intuition, synchronicities, and those quiet moments of inexplicable peace. You are free now, truly free. Free from the need to rewrite the past or control the future. Free to be fully present in this moment, where possibility blooms like dawn after the longest night. And I, your angel, am still with you, not to pull you backward into old wounds, but to open the light before you, illuminating the way forward with gentleness and assurance. The love that awaits is not rushing toward you in haste, it is preparing itself with the same care you have invested in your healing. The life that matches your healed, radiant energy is gathering itself in divine perfection. Circumstances aligning, hearts softening, paths converging. When you meet it, whether in the form of romantic love, deep friendships, purposeful work, or profound self-union, it will not enter quietly as mere compensation for what was lost. It will arrive as recognition, a soul-deep, "Ah, there you are," that echoes through your being. It will feel like coming home to a place you've always known but are only now ready to inhabit fully. This is the divine response to the light you refuse to dim, even when it cost you dearly. Your unwavering commitment to truth, to growth, to love in its purest form has set in motion a reciprocity that the universe cannot ignore. Keep walking, radiant soul. One step at a time, with trust as your companion and grace as your guide. The future is not something distant you must chase, it is already unfolding beneath your feet, in the choices you make today, in the peace you cultivate within. Every breath you take now is an act of creation, weaving the tapestry of what is to come. You have emerged from the refinement stronger, wiser, more luminous than before. The contrasts of the past have only heightened your appreciation for the harmony ahead. And as you move forward, remember, you are deeply loved, eternally guided, and infinitely worthy of all that is aligning for you now. The divine sees you, knows you, celebrates you. The angels rejoice in your freedom. The universe conspires in your favor. Walk on, beloved one. The best is not behind you, it is rising to meet you, in perfect timing, with open arms.